Let us abandon the soft, euphemistic language surrounding mental health. We're not talking about wellness, self-care, or work-life balance. We're talking about the neurobiological integrity of your decision-making apparatus, the very organ that generates every dollar you earn, every relationship you sustain, and every strategic move you make in your career. Imagine you're a fund manager. You understand liquidity risk, the danger of holding assets that cannot be sold quickly without losing value. Now, apply that to your cognition. Chronic stress is the illiquid asset of the mind. When you tolerate persistent anxiety, you're essentially holding a toxic derivative on your own brain, a derivative that pays no dividends but that is silently eroding your principal. The principal is your hippocampal volume, your prefrontal cortex thickness, and your amygdala regulation. When these degrade, you do not just feel bad, you become objectively dumber, slower, and more reactive. Your effective IQ drops by an average of 13 points under sustained high cortisol, a decrement that transforms a strategic thinker into a reactive firefighter. This is not a metaphor, it is a clinical measurement. The hidden cost of your grind is not exhaustion, it is the permanent, quantifiable erosion of your most valuable capital. The markets do not care about your feelings, but they do care about your cognitive performance, and cognitive performance is the first casualty of a neglected mind. Now, let us dissect the physiological cascade that most professionals mistake for normal stress. When your brain perceives a threat, real or imagined, it activates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Your adrenal glands release cortisol. In short bursts, cortisol is useful. It sharpens your focus and mobilizes energy. But when the threat never ends, when the emails never stop, when the boss is perpetually demanding, when the mortgage is perpetually looming, cortisol becomes a neurotoxin. It literally shrinks the dendritic connections in your hippocampus, the region responsible for memory and learning. It causes the amygdala, the fear center, to grow larger and more sensitive. You become more fearful, less creative, and more prone to catastrophic thinking. This is the biological basis of burnout. It is not a psychological failure, it is a physical injury. Imagine working out so hard that you tear a muscle and then continuing to run on that torn muscle. You would be horrified by the stupidity. Yet you do exactly that with your brain every single day. You run meetings on a torn prefrontal cortex. You negotiate contracts on an inflamed amygdala. You call it resilience. It is actually self-harm.
Let us meet a woman you have not encountered in any of my previous scripts, Elena. Elena was a 39-year-old partner at a prestigious architecture firm in Chicago. She designed skyscrapers. Her name was on buildings that defined the skyline. She was obsessive, brilliant, and relentlessly driven. She worked 80-hour weeks, survived on 4 hours of sleep, and powered through with black coffee and a ferocious will. She told herself that stress was the price of greatness, that the anxiety was simply a sign that she cared deeply, and that one day, when she had achieved enough, she would rest. That day never came. At 39, she began experiencing something terrifying. She could not find the words. In a critical presentation to a major client, she stopped mid-sentence, unable to recall the name of a building she had designed herself. Her mind was a white void. Her partners looked at her with a mixture of pity and alarm. She was diagnosed with severe burnout and cognitive impairment. Her cortisol levels were so high that they were equivalent to a patient with chronic PTSD. She was not just tired, she was neurologically compromised. The firm put her on indefinite leave. She was deeply ashamed. She had built her entire identity on competence, and she had publicly, spectacularly failed. The very engine of her success had seized. What Elena did not realize, because no one had told her, was that her burnout was the logical conclusion of a system that had been extracting value from her without reinvesting in her maintenance. She was like a hedge fund that had paid out massive dividends by cannibalizing its own principal. The warning signs were everywhere: the migraines, the insomnia, the irritability, the loss of pleasure in everything except work. She had pathologized these as weakness and pushed through. This is the insidious trap of high-performance culture. It confuses output with well-being. It treats the human being as a resource to be depleted rather than a system to be sustained. Elena's collapse was not a personal failure. It was a systemic one. She was the victim of a corporate ecosystem that rewarded her self-destruction right up until the moment she was no longer useful. The moment she broke, she was discarded. The firm replaced her within a month. Her years of sacrifice amounted to nothing more than a line on a severance letter. Her mental health was her true wealth. She had spent it recklessly, and she was bankrupt. Let us now consider the most dangerous cognitive bias in the context of mental health: the normalization of dysfunction. When everyone around you is exhausted, you assume exhaustion is normal. When everyone is irritable, you assume irritability is a sign of passion. When everyone is medicating with alcohol, caffeine, or sleeping pills, you assume these are tools of the trade. This is a social illusion. You are calibrating your perception of health against a population that is collectively unwell. This is the same phenomenon observed in medical school, where students assume that chronic sleep deprivation is simply part of the training, even though it demonstrably impairs their clinical judgment and endangers patients. In corporate environments, this normalization is lethal. It means that early warning signs, withdrawal, cynicism, physical symptoms, are not seen as red flags. They are seen as status markers of commitment. When Elena complained of headaches, her colleagues nodded sympathetically and said, "That's how you know you care." They were not supporting her, they were enabling her decline. The collective psychosis of the workplace makes the individual feel insane for wanting to stop. Let us layer on the financial penalty of ignoring mental health. This is not an ethical argument, it is a brutal economic one. The World Health Organization estimates that depression and anxiety cost the global economy approximately $1 trillion per year in lost productivity. This is not absenteeism, it is presenteeism. Presenteeism is when you are physically at work, but your cognitive functioning is so impaired by stress that you are operating at 40% capacity. You are sending emails with mistakes. You are missing strategic insights. You are alienating colleagues with your irritability. You are making decisions based on fear rather than data. Over time, these compounding errors accumulate. A single poor decision made by a stressed executive can cost a company millions. A single poorly handled relationship can cost a career. The ROI of mental health investment is staggeringly high. For every dollar spent on early intervention, there is a return of $4 in improved productivity and reduced healthcare costs. This is not philanthropy, it is arbitrage. The market undervalues mental wellness. The wise individual and the wise employer treat it as a mispriced asset.
Now, let us explore the identity trap that makes recovery so difficult. Elena, our architect, did not simply need to rest, she needed to redefine herself. For 15 years, she had told herself, "I am a partner, I am a builder, I am the one who holds it together." When she was forced to stop, she experienced an existential void. She felt like a fraud who had been exposed. This is the psychological crux of burnout. Your identity has been fused with your output. If you stop producing, you feel like you stop existing. Recovery requires a radical decoupling of self-worth from performance. You must learn that you are not your deliverables. You are not your productivity. You are a human being with intrinsic value that is entirely independent of your utility to a corporation. This is not a soft platitude. It is a cognitive restructuring that must be practiced daily. Elena had to relearn how to sit in a garden without thinking about workflow. She had to relearn how to listen to music without analyzing the acoustics. She had to accept that being useless for a period was the most useful thing she could do. Let us delve into the neuroscience of recovery. The brain cannot heal under the same conditions that broke it. This seems obvious, yet most people attempt to recover while remaining in the same toxic environment that caused the damage. They take a weekend off or a week's holiday and return to the same overburdened schedule. This is like treating a broken leg with a Band-Aid. The brain requires a fundamental reduction in sympathetic nervous system activation. It needs the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, to dominate for extended periods. This means strict boundaries, digital detoxes, physical movement, and sleep. Sleep is not a luxury, it is a non-negotiable neurological process. During deep sleep, the glymphatic system clears out neurotoxic waste products from the brain. Without adequate sleep, your brain literally stews in its own metabolic toxins. Elena adopted a strict sleep schedule, 9 hours, no exceptions. She started daily walks without her phone. She took up sketching, not as a professional task, but as a purely playful activity. The first 3 weeks were agonizing. Her anxiety screamed at her that she was wasting time, but she held firm. By month 2, she felt the fog lifting. By month 3, her cognitive assessments had returned to baseline.
Now let us address the social stigma that still surrounds mental health in elite circles. Despite the flurry of corporate wellness initiatives, the subconscious association of mental illness with weakness remains deeply entrenched. If a high-performing executive admits to anxiety, they're often subtly marked as fragile, their promotion prospects dim, they're excluded from high-stakes projects. This creates a powerful incentive to conceal symptoms and power through. This is a systemic failure. The most effective countermeasure is what we might call calculated vulnerability. Elena, upon returning to work at a smaller, more humane firm, did not hide her story. She shared it with her team, not as a confession of failure, but as a testimony to the reality of the human condition. She reframed her burnout as a learning experience that had made her more empathetic, more attuned to early warning signs in others, and more strategic about resource allocation. This act of controlled transparency did not weaken her, it made her a leader. Her team trusted her more. They felt safe to express their own struggles. Productivity did not decrease, it increased. Psychological safety is a force multiplier. When people are not afraid to admit they're struggling, they are more likely to seek help early, preventing catastrophic breakdowns. Let us consider the temporal dimension of this crisis. We are living through an epidemic of chronic stress, and it is accelerating. The pace of digital communication, the erosion of downtime, and the 24/7 news cycle have created a state of constant vigilance that our hunter-gatherer brains cannot process. This is not a temporary condition, it is the new baseline. The risk is existential. If you do not prioritize your mental health, you will eventually be forced to, but under much worse conditions. A planned maintenance stop is far less costly than an emergency landing. Elena's breakdown was an emergency landing. She had to leave the cockpit mid-flight. Many people do not survive such landings with their careers intact. The real tragedy is that the maintenance was always available. She simply chose not to take it because she believed she was an exception to the laws of biology. She was not. Neither are you. Your neurobiology operates without exception. The walls you are hitting are not spiritual, they are physical. Let us now present the strategic protocol for protecting this asset. It is simple, but it is not easy. First, you must institutionalize a weekly cognitive audit. Every Sunday, you sit for 30 minutes with a journal and ask yourself 3 questions. What drained my energy this week? What gave me energy? And what did I do solely because I felt obligated, not because I wanted to? The answers to these questions are your early warning system. Second, you must create a hard stop ritual. At 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or whatever is sustainable, you physically turn off notifications, close your laptop, and you do not engage with work-related thoughts until the next morning. This is not a suggestion, it is a neurological necessity. The boundary must be absolute. Third, you must build a resilience buffer through cardiovascular exercise. Running, swimming, cycling, these activities elevate BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which protects neurons and promotes new neural growth. There is no substitute. SSRIs and therapy are powerful tools, but they are not replacements for physical movement. Elena integrated a daily 45-minute run into her schedule. She hated running. She did it anyway. She viewed it as taking her medicine. So here is your final unequivocal directive. You will not treat this as optional. You will schedule a mental health checkup with a clinical psychologist within the next 7 days, the same way you would schedule a dentist appointment. You will not wait until you are in crisis. You will preempt. You will also, tonight, write down the 3 biggest sources of chronic stress in your life. For each one, you will identify one action you can take to reduce its intensity by 10% within the next week. It could be delegating a task, having a difficult conversation, or simply accepting that something is beyond your control and choosing to let it go. The combination of professional oversight, somatic practice, and environmental adjustment forms a 3-legged stool of mental health. Neglect any one leg, and the stool collapses. Elena rebuilt her life from the ashes of her breakdown. She is now a consultant who lectures on sustainable high performance. She does not work 80-hour weeks, she works 50-hour weeks with deep focus, and she is more productive than she was at 80 because she is not fighting a war with her own biology. She has learned that mental health is not a luxury, it is the foundation upon which all success is built. You will learn this lesson either voluntarily through foresight or involuntarily through collapse. The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking. Your wealth, your relationships, and your future self depend on the decision you make tonight. Protect your mind. It is the only asset you truly own.